Questions I get asked a lot is, what do I do on my garden care visits, or what does a garden care visit include and what does it entail? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of go over my routine at a normal garden care visit that just has the basic routine maintenance for this time of year, which we're just getting into December. And of course, this is in zone 9, but this would apply to really any zone from 8 up. If you're managing a garden or taking care of your garden, these are some things that you should be doing as well. So I hope you enjoy. Okay, so one of the first things that I do when I get to a client is I walk through without any tools or anything like that. I walk through and I look at everything that I've worked on over any significant amount of time that I just may need to address for that visit. It's been 2 weeks, almost to the day, that I installed the winter color when I cut back all the summer and installed winter. And this is the progress. It's actually doing really good. Already putting out a flower. Look at the flowers on this one, so pretty. The dianthus is doing good, but this is definitely a sign of slug activity. I'm going to add a slug treatment to get these leaves out of here for sure, because that is one of the contributors for snails. I'm gonna go ahead and cut back the rest of these caladiums because they're looking pretty sad, but everything else is good. So I'm gonna be deadheading the dianthus today and the pansies. They both need deadheading. Here's the other side where I installed the shorter, more compact kale. But overall, these plants really just need a good cleaning up. And I do need to treat the weeds now with all the post-emergent remedies, because last time I did the pre-emergent in the garden beds, but I need to do post now. Here's the pots that I installed. These have been installed about 1 month now, and they look nice. I do have some extra kale that I may tuck in here, because I think it's a nice little addition, especially when these annuals are no longer putting out. Yeah, so I'm going to put a couple more kales in these. This kale is from last year. See, that's just why I don't pull out annuals. There's just no need to. And this kale is the biggest and the prettiest because it's been here a whole year. Based on that walkthrough, I make a note of all the materials I'm going to need to complete those tasks. And this is everything that I should need off the top of my head of the initial walkthrough. That doesn't mean I won't have to visit my car again, but it's just an idea of the process I use to try and be as efficient as possible. And hopefully the wind will allow me to keep this lit. There's a lot going on around these rocks. And then this time of year, of course, I like the smell of fire. It's always nice. But we've had so much rain the other day that I'm really not worried about burning anything or anything catching on fire. I just need to watch for any potential wires and sprinklers. That's the main thing that I watch for. And this is completely organic. This is just another bonus. This is probably the most natural post-emergent method that you can get. So I'm good with that. But there's a red bud right here that has a lot of leaf litters that lands on top of these plants, and that also contributes to the slugs. Some caladiums kind of starting to peak up again after I've removed them from the garden. I just cut them back whenever I was installing this winter color right here. They're trying to make an appearance, and I'm just gonna snip them back again. Simple as that. I'm also gonna trim this one because I aggressively trimmed the other one, so it's only fair. So I'm gonna do all of these little, they're in the yew family, but I don't know what kind they are. They're just a dwarf yew, but they are really pretty much tidy and they're forgiving. And there's a roof being put on somewhere around me. I could have swore last time I was here there was a roof being put on. That was really noisy. Okay, so I want to cut back the outermost edge of these, and this will help them look better in the spring when they start to fluff out again. And then those are the areas too that would be the first to die off. And we did dip into the 30s last night. So it's just best to go ahead and remove the weakest materials on the plant, the weakest areas, I should say. And I did use the torch right around the base of these plants where there's some weed activity. I'm also seeing snails over here, and that could be the cause of some of this death. So I haven't ever treated this bed before because I haven't seen a problem, but I think I would rather, since I'm just seeing a couple now and there's a potential for them, the destruction being their fault, I'm gonna go ahead and treat this bed. So a lot of these caladiums, I mean, it's past their time, but I did leave a couple up when I planted this bed because I wanted to make sure there wasn't just an empty, ugly bed whenever I transitioned to the winter color. I'm just gonna go ahead and cut them down since that color is definitely taken off, and I'm gonna treat for snails anyway. So for now, I'm just gonna cut the very front of it off that's crowding everything out. And that'll be the part that I dig up anyway when I divide this section in the spring. I may even do it midwinter, just depends on what other things might come up, but and how the weather is, but I may divide this sooner. Actually, if I can pull this out, that would be a good start, as this is definitely overcrowded right here. And sometimes it's ready. When it's ready, it'll just come out itself. Okay. All right, this is way better right here. So I'm definitely gonna have to get a little pre-emergent here. This definitely needed some thinning, and that's way better. Wasn't on the menu for today, but it was ready and able to be done. So I took advantage of that and did it. Kind of like it when things just tell you, hey, do me, I'm ready. You know, if I'm talking about dividing it in the future, it almost just decided to jump in my lap and say, oh, I'm ready now. And that's exactly what happened. You know, that's never going to be a question. And, you know, if there's a plant that's it's so ready to be divided that it'll literally be falling off on the edges, you know, it's separating itself, that's a telltale sign. You know, and if you can just kind of wiggle it and separate it from the main plant, that's a no-brainer. It's always going to be a good idea to clean out what you can right then. And this will really improve airflow and whatever sunlight this area gets. Well, I hope this looks as good from that angle as it does from this angle, because it already is a major improvement. Okay, so let me see how this looks from this side. Oh yes, it's much better. I'm gonna go ahead and torch the weeds back there that I can get to now. My God, they're so noisy. Okay, I guess they can't get any noisier. So these are the ones that I pulled up, and I just checked with them to see if they would maybe want to plant them in this. They have a little back section. If they don't, I will find them new homes. Okay, I don't know what they're doing, but it's so annoying. Okay, so I'm seeing what I can get out right here. And these are coming out so easy. This is definitely a sign they're ready. They've just overstayed their welcome. That's pretty much what it is. They're just kind of growing on top of the soil. Oh, but look how much cleaner that is. This is progress. I am going to actually put a couple down there, since this is coming out really nicely and there's so many to go around. Look at this big chunk. So I'm gonna stick these, there's kind of like an empty spot. I don't have my shovel, but I will go get it because I did not plan on doing this. But I think I'm gonna put them right here. Hopefully that's not blocking a sprinkler. I really need to find it because I know there's one back here. Okay, that's a stone. Okay, here's a sprinkler right here. There's one. So they're actually not even against the house. They're kind of in the middle. So maybe the other one maybe the ones over here. Okay, maybe I'll just make this one a little wider because there's already 4 sections, and I'll thin out the back of that one because it's on top of a sprinkler. Never noticed that before. I really never stood from this angle, but I need to go get a shovel so I can figure out where to put these. And that is probably going to explain why there's a snail issue, because this iris had been growing on top of a sprinkler, which is just, you know, so it's probably isolated to this half of the bed. I'm going to bag up all of these irises. And here we go. It's like a big baby, and this bag's definitely not strong enough to hold them. I'm just going to get this section watered in that I made some transplants. I'm watering to just lock in all the soil I just disturbed and activate the pre-emergent that I had to put down before I put the slug treatment, because that deteriorates with moisture. So I'm gonna make sure I am done with all the moisture before I apply that. I do use one that, you know, is supposed to be okay for a few rains. It only lasts like a couple weeks in those conditions, so. Okay. So you can see how much more room is now behind this. You know, no matter what, I always think I know. I always think I know what I'm going to do when I get to a garden. And I can't nail that. I cannot predict what I'm going to do. No matter how hard I try, because if I did that, if I predicted what I was going to do and only stuck to that and followed that, oh my God. The garden would suffer. The garden would literally suffer if I just followed. I give up. Okay, so this is everything that I did. I tucked in a couple extra kales. I tucked in an extra one there and an extra one in there. And I divided. I didn't plan on dividing all these plants in the back, and I can't remember their name, if they're African lilies or African irises, but either way, I divided them all. I will put it on the screen. They were way past due for being divided, and I'm just so happy that I was able to easily tug them up by hand, and it actually allowed me to find there was some root rot occurring because they had grown on top of the sprinkler head back here. So I cleared that out, gave it plenty of room, and was just creating the optimal place for slugs to thrive. So I ended up treating this half of the yard. For the first time ever since I've been coming here, I haven't really had an issue on this side of the yard. I treated them, and then I also treated this side over here, where this is the damage that I noticed. And I had discovered there was more damage going on a few months ago. So it's really minimal at this point, but I want to stay on top of it. So I did apply another bait treatment. Hopefully that treatment will get me through till spring. That's what I'm hoping. I've completed deadheading everything. I just left a couple caladium leaves just for color purposes. I hope you'll leave any questions or suggestions in the comment section below, and that you'll join me again next time for warm climate garden beauty.